Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and welcome to my OSRS 1 to 99 firemaking guide. The goal of this guide, as always, is to teach you how you can train your firemaking at any level. Generally, firemaking is one of the faster and simpler capes in the game, but it's very often referred to as the most useless skill overall, and today I'm going to try to give firemaking any credit that it might deserve. I would normally start the guide with some quests that you can do to jumpstart your leveling. The thing is, firemaking doesn't really have any low requirement fast quests that are worth your time, since it is such a fast skill on its own anyway. If you still want that list of quests though, I have left a link in the description. Firemaking is a very basic skill, so I'm just going to start the guide with discussing a couple of different ways that you can light your logs quickly, and then we can speed through a large chunk of the leveling guide, since it's really all the same exact process, just with different logs. Eventually we're going to get to Wintertodt, which is a skilling boss that actually gives a lot of firemaking XP. It isn't nearly as click intensive as normal firemaking. During that section of the guide, I'm also going to talk about the Pyromancer outfit, which is a reward from Wintertodt and is going to help speed up your firemaking training a little bit. After I finish up the regular leveling guide, I'm going to talk about an alternate method for firemaking, and then we'll take a second to talk about the few reasons that you might actually want to train your firemaking level. Now, they do teach you on Tutorial Island how to use a tinderbox to light logs, so hopefully you have an idea already of how firemaking XP works. You can simply take the logs from the bank, light them in a line, and then run right back, but there's a few ways that you can light a few more logs per hour than that. You automatically move east to west when you're lighting logs, but you do have a couple of ticks between lighting the logs that you can actually move around a little bit. You can use this method to make sure that you're not very far away from the bank when you do run out of logs. That way you don't spend any time walking back or walking away from the bank, however you did it, and not lighting any logs while you walk. You could use this in between time to actually get some other things done too. You can multitask some XP. It's kind of insane. If you've never seen it, you should look up firemaking, cooking, fletching, and superheating. All four of those things, same video. People are nuts. Instead of trying to walk my character back to the bank while I light fires, I usually just use the Western Varrock bank to grab the logs, and then I teleport to the Varrock square, and lighting the logs generally brings you all the way back to that bank. It's not a tick-perfect method, but it is faster than your average lighting, and firemaking is such a fast skill anyway, it's not going to make a very big difference overall. Alright, let's try to breeze through some of this leveling guide since you now know how to actually light logs on fire. The first few logs that you can do are all very cheap, and it's going to be very quick XP even at lower levels, though you should keep in mind at low firemaking levels, you don't always light the log first try, so it can be a little slow and spotty at first, but you're still going to get ridiculous rates, and you should be out of here quickly. Levels 1 to 15, you can only light normal logs, and it's only going to take you 61 logs for these levels. 15 to 30, you can now move on to your oak logs, and you're only going to need 183 logs for these 15 levels. Levels 30 to 35, you can move on to willow logs, and you're still only going to need 101 of them. 35 to 45, you could do teak logs, which are only a small increase compared to all the others, but you're only going to need 373 logs for this section of the guide. At 45 firemaking, you can now light maple logs. You're only going to need to go to 50 firemaking, so that only takes 295 logs. To get up to your 50 firemakings takes about 1,000 logs at this point, which should be a little bit under an hour of firemaking. Right at 50 firemaking, you can now participate in the Wintertodt fight. I have a Wintertodt guide that I've linked in the description, which is going to go into more detail about the fight than I do here, but I'm going to give an overview of how to train your firemaking here. Wintertodt is located north of the Zaya Library, but the easiest way to get there is hands down to just use the teleport on the games necklace. You do take damage periodically while you're inside the Wintertodt, and you take less damage if you have lower health and higher firemaking levels. Also, if you're wearing any warm gear, that's going to reduce the damage you take. There's a lot of low requirement warm gear out there. I personally think that the Clue Hunter gear is the simplest to get since you only need a spade and the ability to move around RuneScape. There are 3 squares around OSRS that you could dig with a spade. Is going to give you a total of 4 pieces of Clue Hunter gear, and the max warm gear that you can wear in Wintertodt to make a difference is 4 pieces. I have left a link in the description to the wiki's full list of warm clothing. You're also going to need an axe to chop logs, a tinderbox to help light fires, plus you could bring a knife with you to fletch some logs before lighting them, and a hammer to help fix the brazier whenever it breaks, which will give some construction XP. Since you do take damage inside Wintertodt, you are going to need to bring food with you. Many players go for wines. If you're at low HP and high firemaking, you can survive pretty easily with some salmon or even trout. And if you want to take less bank trips, even though the bank is right outside and you have plenty of time to bank between every round, you could bring some Ceridome and brews. They're really not that expensive overall, and you could get a few rounds in a row. Once you're in the Wintertodt and a round has begun, you have a very simple job. You have to chop the Burma roots to go ahead and feed the braziers with wood. If the brazier ever goes out, you can light the fire again for some bonus points in XP. And if the Pyromancer ever dies, you can use a potion on him using the supplies inside the arena to revive him. The fight is fairly AFK. While you chop logs, you don't really have to do anything. But while you're putting the wood in the brazier, if you take any damage, you're going to stop automatically putting wood in. So you got to use another log or kindling on the brazier. It's very easy to tell when you take damage if you just turn your game sounds on. Your game sounds are the middle sound option in your settings. Once the round ends, if you get at least 500 points, you're going to get bonus XP and a reward crate. And more points can give you more rewards from the reward crate. Then around a minute later, another round is going to start. It does vary in time. Sometimes the round will start fairly quickly. Sometimes it'll be slower, but there is a timer. The firemaking XP that you gain here is scaled based on your firemaking level. So at higher levels, you're going to get a lot higher XP rates. And many players do choose to do the Wintertodt all the way to 99 firemaking. This is where I got the majority of my firemaking XP, from the 50 to 99 section. Though you can use higher level logs to light, which we'll talk about in a second. One of the possible rewards from the crate from Wintertodt is a piece of Pyromancer gear. The Pyromancer set consists of 4 pieces, and each piece gives a small firemaking XP boost. If you have the entire set, you get a 2.5% XP boost, and it also counts as your warm pieces of clothing, each piece of pyro gear. You can also get the warm gloves, which are only really helpful for fashion and that extra piece of warm gear if you need it, or the Burma torch, which also counts as a warm piece of gear, and it's a wieldable light source, which is very interesting. Again, I do have a Wintertodt guide linked in the description. If you're looking for any more information about the Wintertodt grind, that video should do it for you. You can go all the way to 99 firemaking, like I said, at Wintertodt, but it's not necessarily the fastest way all the way to the skill cape, so let's move on to a different section of the leveling guide. At 75 firemaking, you can light magic logs for a little bit faster XP than the Wintertodt. Magic logs are really expensive though, so this is a pretty unpopular method overall. You would need 13,614 logs to get through this section, or only 13,282 if you had the full pyro set. Either way, it's going to be a lot more expensive than Wintertodt, so it's very reasonable to stay there till at least 90, but if you have the money to buy some logs, this will be a little bit faster. At 90 firemaking, you can now light redwood logs. These are very fast XP per hour, and they're a lot cheaper than magic logs, so it makes it a much more viable method for speeding through the back end of your skill cape. From 90 to 99, firemaking would require 21,966 logs, or only 21,431 with the full pyro set. As you can see with that Pyromancer set, it is a little bit of a bonus in XP, but it really doesn't make a huge difference. From 90 to 99 really takes off a little over 500 logs. It's not a huge deal. It's like 30 minutes of time saved. There is another way to train firemaking if you are not a fan of the classic firelighting or Wintertodt, though the original methods that we already talked about are so fast that you might just want to bite the bullet and grind out whatever levels you need quick. Burning shade remains with pyrologs is a very interesting way to get firemaking and prayer XP. You do need to complete the Shades of Morton quest to unlock this method, and the XP and GP rates are going to vary a lot here, but it's very possible to make a lot more money than you would at Wintertodt when you go ahead and use the keys that you get from burning the shades. The thing is, by using these keys, you just slow down your XP rate since it's a totally different process and you get no firemaking XP there. And the XP is already a little bit worse than Wintertodt unless you're cranking with expensive teleports like the Morton Scroll. But you also get some good prayer XP too in there at about 1/5 of the rate of your firemaking. It's a pretty inconsistent method since it's not easy to always buy all the supplies you need. And it's pretty boring overall compared to grinding out some Wintertodt, even though Wintertodt isn't the greatest thing in the world. In my opinion, the only thing that really makes this a viable method is that mix between the prayer and firemaking XP. Very often in the game, if you can be getting decent XP rates in multiple skills at a time, overall you're saving some time. I'm not a huge fan of burning shades though. Firemaking is widely known as the most useless skill in the game, and that's arguably true. I might have to agree with that. All you do is unlock different logs to burn generally. That doesn't really help anybody. It's not completely useless though. There's a few reasons that you would want to train your firemaking. There's some quests and diaries around the game that do require a decent firemaking level. You need 66 firemaking to get your quest cape, and you're going to need 85 firemaking for the achievement cape, though both of these could be boosted using spicy stews, of course. Doing your quests and your achievement diary is going to unlock a lot of helpful perks throughout the game, and firemaking is just such an easy level to get that anytime you need a firemaking requirement, you might as well just go do it. This also goes for clue scrolls. You need up to 90 firemaking for one of the master clue steps. Again, could be boosted with a spicy stew. Clue scrolls aren't really on everyone's agenda, and they're not as important as getting your quests or your achievement diaries done, but you still could make a lot of cash off them with a little bit of luck, and they're a little bit fun to do. I've always felt like clue scrolls are a great way to actually set your level goals too. If you needed 85 firemaking for a clue, instead of just dropping it and then maybe getting it again in the future or giving up on clues overall because you don't want to do it, why not go ahead and grind out the level, be done with it, and you never have to think about it again. When you get your first skill cape, you get some untrimmed kind of crap, which is sometimes used as a fashion statement, like getting Slayer as your first 99 and having that untrimmed cape is kind of a cool thing, but in all reality, the capes look better when they're trimmed. To trim a skill cape, you just need multiple 99s though, and firemaking is a very easy skill to do that with, along with fletching, of course. Firemaking is so fast and has very low requirements to grind out, so it can be used as a quick way to trim your skill cape, which is kind of nice if you're into the fashion scape. And now that you finally have the firemaking skill cape, you get to use the skill cape perk. If you have it on you, whether it's in your backpack or you're wearing it, it counts as a light source that can't be extinguished. Now, it's not very useful. Honestly, it's very niche when it comes to how useful it is, but at least it's not completely useless. That is all the information that I wanted to give you about 99 firemaking, everybody. If you still have any questions about training your firemaking, or if you have any tips of your own, be sure to leave them in the comments section below. Again, firemaking is one of the fastest, if not the simplest 99 to get over on the game. It's commonly known as a useless 99 to get, but overall, it's not necessarily useless. Maybe it's just a little bit more useless than some of the others. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I do hope you enjoyed or you got some useful information. And if you did, be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more content. Thanks again for watching, and best of luck with your firemaking grind.